Hello everyone and welcome back. So in the next few videos we're going to be starting on the Sculpt tool projector. Lee?
Yeah, yeah. With our sculpt tool, it'd be kind of handy if we could figure out exactly where in the world we're going to be sculpting when we're got our tool active, and maybe even possibly a decent indicator of what to expect the moment we start clicking on the mouse buttons with our tool active. So to do that, we're going to be repurposing one of the built-in pieces, if you were, to the Unity, which would be our projector. So I was wondering if they have it in here as a built-in. Nope, doesn't look like it. But if you've messed with any of Unity before this, there is an example and an add-in called a blob shadow. And basically, it's a good way of faking a shadow underneath your character. What you do is you put a projector that sits above your character and always points down, and it draws this little round shadow underneath your character. So that's kind of what we need, but not quite exactly. So we're going to be taking a projector, modifying the way it works, and we're going to get into our very first shader, because the default shader for a projector does really well at drawing shadows, but doesn't do very well if you wanted to draw something that looked like a glowing circle on the ground. So we will be getting into our very first shader in the next few videos when we get all the implementation of our projector done. But we'll get into that when we get to that video. In this video, what I want to do is get the absolute minimum that we need working to get a projector in our scene drawing down on our terrain. So let's get started with that. We'll jump over into code. I'm going to ignore this for now. This code's going to live inside of the terrain sculptor, and we're going to need a couple of properties and fields to make all this work. We're going to need a private static game object, and this is the game object that is going to hold our projector, and I'm going to call this our brush object. Underneath that, I'm going to need another private static. This is going to be the projector itself, and we're going to call this, creatively enough, projector. Now, that will take care of the fields that we need to start off with. We're also going to need to keep track of where this projector is in space. So we're going to call create a new property called public static vector 3, if I can spell it right. This one will be called position. So that will hold the position of our projector. Now, inside of our constructor is where we're going to create all this. So we're going to create a new brush object. So brush object, not bush object. I have not created foliage yet. Well, I have. You guys haven't seen it yet. That was a fun example too. So you guys are following around the threads. Yes, I did manage to get 2,000 trees on our terrain. So it was kind of fun. I was like running around in Sherwood Forest.
It's true.
Especially, it got really creepy when you wanted me to turn it to a night scene.
Yeah, but that was awesome.
So we're going to call this train brush. Actually, train brush doesn't sound right, does it? How about sculpt tool? There we go. This is just the name that's going to appear in the hierarchy when it creates this, so it doesn't really matter what we call it. Now, by default, this thing is going to come into the world pointing horizontally down, I believe it's down the z-axis. And we want it to point straight down at the ground. So we're going to take the brush object itself, take its transform, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees along its x-axis, which will point it at the ground. to our brush object, let's do it this way. Well, I can do it this way first and add it later. To our brush object, we're going to have to add a component, because no spaces, add component. Now, we can do it two ways. I don't do it this way very often, but I guess we could just do projector. Trying something new, so if this blows up, remember, R&D. All right, so we're going to add component projector, and if I do it this way, I don't have to put anything in there, I guess, which means I can assign this to our projector. So projector equals projector. Wow, so no errors. If that works, that's my new way of doing things, as long as I remember. I've been typing it the other way so long.
You don't work with generics much, do you?
No, I don't. Well, I'm pretty much an old school type of guy. Generics were something I'm still trying to get used to. So, now come on, in honesty, you weren't much of a generics guy until about a year ago either.
About 2 years ago.
Yeah. So, all right, so now we've got our projector. We need to give it a material, otherwise we won't see it. But we don't have a material. So, real quickly, we'll jump over to our Unity project. Let's go ahead and close this. Close this down. Let's go to Materials under the Resources folder under Materials. Right-click, create a new material, and give it another name, m_sculpt tool. And let's see, let's give it a texture. Actually, I need to modify the texture that I want to use it first. I want it to use this texture, but I don't want it to be a normal. And seeing as how we're done using it as a test for our tangents, I'm going to turn it back into a texture. Hit apply. Now it gives us a black and white, which will be fine for what we need it to be. All right, so now we can get back into code. Now let's assign that material to our projector. So we'll do projector.material equals resources load, and we're going to load our m_sculpt tool as material. Now from there, I want to take our projector. Actually, I'm going to leave that off for now. There's a reason for that. And I think this should come in at the world origin. So I'm going to take our brush object, take its transform, and I'm going to take its position, and I'm going to set it equal to a new, vector 3.0. I want it to be at the origin of the world just to start off with so we can play with it. I'm pretty sure, not new, just vector 0. I'm pretty sure it comes in at 0, but I'm going to put that line in just to make sure it does. Let's see if I can get the projector into the world. And I'm pretty sure it won't work because I never called anything that's going to instantiate it. So let's go into our train demo. Let's go to update and go ahead and call our train sculptor. Yes, I know it's not there. Add it. It's not going to find it. No, it's terrain, not terrain. There we go. That's better. So now that should force the constructor of the fire. Come on, come on. So here's our sculpt tool. Now if I go find it, it's pointed down, which is good, but it's not drawing on anything. But if I drag this thing up, once I get it above our terrain, you can see it kind of works like a camera, meaning that it has a view frustum. So if I pull it up past that view frustum, it doesn't project on anything. But the moment it intersects, then it projects. And in this case, it's projecting across the entire texture. Now, I can set it to orthographic, which means it draws straight down, but it's still drawing across everything. So that obviously isn't the problem. What we do need to do is going to be not there, but in our test pattern. When we're using something that is going to be working as a pattern for our projector, we've got to set our clamp mode to wrap.
Or wrap mode to clamp.
Yeah, that's what I said. What did I say? Clamp mode to wrap?
Yeah.
Nice. Good choice. All right, and we can set this there. We need to change our shader. Let's see if we've got a projector shader on here. Doesn't look like the built one in it, or the built one, that built-in one is loaded because I don't have it set up, but I thought it might have one for us. Doesn't look like it. All right, so it doesn't have it loaded by default. I'd have to bring it in from a package. All right, so I'll ignore that for now. Go back to our sculpt tool. Start back to orthographic. Field of view isn't going to do anything. Orthographic size. Is this going to adjust? What I'm trying to do is get it the size correctly, but it doesn't look like it's going to do it with the shader because I'm not using a projector-based shader, so it's just drawing it across everything.
Well, that's okay. I mean, this is a perfect place to end part one with getting it to draw on the terrain.
Yep. So,
all right.
And then we'll just have to worry about getting the right shader in for it.
Yeah, do that in the next video. All right, awesome. Yep. Well, with that, that is going to wrap up this video.